My name is Long, and this is the chilling, true story of my life in 1977. One day, while cutting wood outside my wooden house, two friends approached me and invited me to go hunting with them the next morning. I eagerly accepted as my family was struggling with food shortages. I informed my wife about the hunting trip, but she had been having disturbing dreams and pleaded with me not to go. But when she knew that she couldn't stop me, she decided to go pack me some food. As the morning came around 4 a.m., my wife woke up to help me pack, and I kissed my daughter goodbye because it was going to be a 3-day trip. My wife walked me out and hugged me, telling me to be safe. I walked into the darkness to my buddy's house with a fire stick. At that time, I was poor and couldn't afford a flashlight. As us three walk into the darkness as we was excited for our 3 days hunting trip. We walked for 2 hours to get to our area, and it was a hot spot for monkeys and squirrels. The first night, it went well. I got 13 squirrels and some 3 birds. I came upon some monkeys but felt bad for them, so I didn't shoot them. My 2 friends shot and got each other a monkey that day. As it was getting dark, we gathered up some wood and cooked my squirrels for dinner. I looked at my 2 friends' monkeys that they got and thought, what if they have more meat to bring home and my family is hungry at home? So I thought that I would shoot any monkey that I saw tomorrow. When morning came, we each went our separate ways to hunt. As I went over 2 hills, I stumbled upon a good-sized monkey on the tree, so I pointed my gun in the distance and shot the monkey. I can clearly see the monkey fall from the tree and slowly walk to the area where it fell. When I saw the monkey on the ground, I noticed someone was behind it. I looked closer, and to my horror, it was a woman wearing Hmong traditional clothes standing around 10 feet from the dead monkey, waving at me as she was really excited to see me. Her hair was long, and her lips were popping out like a slice of watermelon. I got so scared that I dropped my gun and just ran away in panic from that thing. I ran so hard and tripped over a log, got up and sprint, and didn't notice I was running on a cliff. I fell down onto a rock and passed out for who knows how long. When I woke up, my lips were so dry and my body felt very weak. I realized tree roots had gone over my body while I was lying on the ground. I look around and notice that I have fallen into a cave and am staring into the blue sky. I slowly got up, pulled out all the roots around my body, and leaned on a rock. I tried to climb myself out of the cave, but it was a little too tall for me to do so. Inside the cave, there were 3 ways to go, so I decided to choose the one in the middle to see where it took me. As I was entering, I could see a light inside the tunnel, so I knew I had chosen the right one. As I've been walking for what feels like 20 minutes now, I've come upon so many more paths in the tunnel, but I kept on following the same path with the light. As it felt like an hour went by, somehow I still saw the light from afar but couldn't reach it. I saw that it was the way out because I could see the forest and sunlight from where I was standing. But somehow something is blocking my way, as it was a big fallen tree blocking my way out. As I got to the exit, I was frozen in fear. It wasn't a fallen tree, it was a huge anaconda. It was as big as a couch. I realized it was sleeping or something, but when I saw the head of the snake, it was different from all the snakes I saw. It has a rooster comb, the red thing, on top of its head. I was panicking and about to turn back, but I realized how far I had come. I had the courage to hop over and touch that thing, and it was as hard as a rock. I felt it move a little bit, but it was still sleeping or something. As the tunnel was too small for the creature, I hopped over that thing multiple times to pass the creature's body. I got out of the tunnel and ran, never looking back to see what the heck I just saw. I ran for so long that I was out of breath. Lucky for me, I came upon a small creek and drank so much water that it made me feel so tired and sick. I looked around me, and everything was just a green jungle. I cry and pray to all my ancestors to point me in the right direction. I got up and began to follow the sun as it set. Right about when it was getting dark, I finally felt relaxed because I came to a dirt road that I was familiar with. When I got to my village, it looked so different that I felt like I was in another village, but I still remembered that it was really my place. My parents' house was on the way, so before getting to my house, I stopped by and knocked on the door. And when my mom opened the door, she suddenly got to her knees and cried as soon as she saw me. I was confused, and as I was about to speak, my dad yelled from the back and asked what the matter was. He came, and as soon as he saw me, he began to cry too. My mom was crying on her knees the whole time and just couldn't get up. My dad asked me, "Where have I been?" And I told him that I had been lost in the forest for some days. But when I looked at them, I could tell that they looked just a little bit older. What my dad said gave me chills and scared me to the bone. He said that I'd been gone for 7 years. I was so shocked and told them that it was impossible because I was just hunting with my 2 friends. I told everything to my dad, and I know that he is the only person who believes me because I never lied to him before. When my mom finally calmed herself down, she told me to sit and talk in a calm, nice way to explain something that had made my heart break throughout my whole life. My mom explained that during the 2 years, my wife has been waiting for me. She's always waiting for me with my daughter till midnight on the street to see if one day I'll come back. As people were coming back late from the farm, they'd still see her outside on the road waiting for me and refusing to go inside. So many men in our village try to flirt and talk to my wife, but she never shows any interest. The 3rd year came, and my dad and uncle decided to force my wife to marry my little brother. As my mom told me the story, she also wiped my tears from my cheeks. It reminds me that the last time she hugged me and told me to hurry home, it was just a couple days ago. Why are my parents telling me it was 7 years ago? I asked my mom if I could go and see my daughter, but they told me that I had been gone for so long that they had all already moved to the United States. I felt like I was going to faint. I slept at my parents' house for the night, and as soon as morning came, I went for a walk around my village. I went past my house and saw that different people were living in it. My tears drop as I daydream about seeing my wife sitting on the front porch, sewing her Hmong clothes. I decided to go to my friend's house, the one that we went hunting at together. When he saw me, he suddenly started crying. He cried out loud and said, "Is this real or a dream? Why did I suddenly appear out of nowhere?" He looked at me and was a bit confused that I still looked exactly like I did 7 years ago. I told him everything, and he was in shock. He then said that I'd been gone for so long that he went to my little brother and my wife's wedding 4 years ago, and everyone was crying to see my wife remarrying my little brother. He also told me that my other friend that we went hunting with had moved to the United States. Lots of people are moving, and he is also going next month too, so I should try to apply for it and go with his family. I went back home and asked if my parents were going, but they said they were not going to the US, but if I wanted to go, I should go with my uncle, who is leaving in 5 months. When I finally got my name and was ready to move to the US, I promised my parents that I would never interfere in my brother's or my wife's lives. By now, my brother and wife already know that I am still alive because they have already called and told all my cousins in the US. I promised them that I will never try to take my wife back. When I got to the United States, I lived in Fresno, California with my uncle and aunt, and my brother and my wife lived in Sacramento, California. Finally, after a year of living in Fresno, our cousin has a ceremony going on, which they call Jingle Bell. I knew that my wife and daughter was going to show up as I was waiting in the living waiting for them to come through the door. When I suddenly saw a man walking through the front door, I looked closer and realized it was my little brother. The moment he saw me, he came and hugged me, crying out loud, saying that he thought I was dead until Mom called him. He apologized that he took my wife away from me, but I told him that he did the right thing, and I thanked him for it. The happiest part of my life was when I saw my daughter, who was already 12 years old. The last time I saw her was when she was 4 years old. It was when I kissed her goodbye before going to hunt that night. My brother then said my wife was in the car and wasn't ready to see me at this moment. My brother begged me to go talk to her to catch up on all the stuff that we missed out on. I told my little brother that I would never go talk to her and do such a thing because she is now your wife. My little brother says he approves of me going to talk to her and just telling her to let go of me. He told me not to mind anything and that it was okay for me to go talk to her privately. I agreed and went out to the car. As I walked to the car, my brother pointed it out, and there was my beautiful wife. She was still the same beautiful wife I always loved, but she just got a little older because of all the years I lost. When she looked up and saw me, her eyes froze. Our eyes locked on each other. We couldn't say a word. Tears slowly fell from her eyes as her face turned sad. I tried to hold on to my tears, but somehow I felt warm tears dripping down from my eyes and realized I couldn't stop myself. I really miss her and wanted to give her a hug, but realized it was now my brother's wife. I shook her hands and said, "How are you doing?" She put her head down and just couldn't stop crying. She mumbled and said, "Why do you still look the same? And why do you look exactly the same as the day you left me?" Since she already knew my story, I didn't explain much and just told her to let go. I told her to keep up with her marriage and love my little brother forever. From now on, we cannot talk about the past anymore, and she'll be a great sister-in-law to me forever. She then finally got out of the car and went inside the house. During the dinner inside the house, I just missed her so much that we couldn't keep our eyes off each other. Finally, the day was over, and they were ready to go back to Sacramento. I held my little brother and wife's hands together and said, "The past is the past, and they should not think about it anymore." I blessed them for loving each other to the end.